focus this evening, days after United States hit India with 50% tariffs for allegedly fueling Moscow's war machine by buying Russian oil. All eyes are now on the Putin-Trump meeting in Alaska. Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to meet his US counterpart Donald Trump on August 15th. The two leaders' upcoming meeting to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine is already being seen as a big win for the Kremlin. Remember, this is the first time Putin is being invited to meet the US president on American soil. However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has so far not been invited to attend these talks. Ukraine has said in the past that no deal can be struck in its absence. According to reports, US is considering inviting Zelensky. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi dialed Ukrainian President Zelensky just days after speaking to Russian President Putin. Prime Minister Modi has reaffirmed India's consistent position for peaceful settlement of the conflict. In a post on X, President Zelensky said that both the leaders discussed the sanctions against Russia in detail and confirmed that both the leaders have agreed to meet during the UN General Assembly next month. Will the meeting between Putin and Trump lead to a breakthrough and in turn relief from India for 25% additional tariffs? Joining me now to discuss this is Ajai Malhotra, former Indian ambassador to Russia, someone who's an expert not just on India-Russia relations, but who spent considerable time in Washington as well. Ambassador Malhotra, thank you very much for joining us. What's the kind of outcome that India would be looking out for from the Putin-Trump meeting in Alaska?
Well, we would like to see some forward movement. This difference between the Americans and the Russians over the Ukraine situation is not helpful to anyone in the world, and certainly not to us. We have the best of ties with these two countries, USA and Russia. And if they come back to a more normal relationship, I think that's in everyone's interest, but certainly in India's interest. So we would be looking to sorting out of some concerns. I don't think everything will get sorted out. I think there will be further exchanges, maybe a Putin visit later on to USA. But at least there will be hopefully some forward movement. And if that is there, that will be a good thing.
Right. I would also like to ask you, Ambassador Malhotra, that when it comes to oil imports from Russia, for the month of July, it was around 35% of our crude oil basket. It has come down this month. We're yet to see what our purchases will be like in the month of August. But on the whole, the government has given this indication that we will not stop our supplies from Russia. We will maintain our energy security the way we want it. Having said that, do you think we would possibly now come to a situation where we may have to suspend purchases of Russian oil or bring it down drastically over the next few months, at least temporarily?
Well, much would depend on the outcome of what happens in Alaska in that meeting. I think that would determine how we move. But we have to act in our national interest, not on the basis of somebody else's political agenda. I don't think we do that in any case. And we don't owe anyone for what we do in our national interest. We don't owe them an explanation. So, yes, I do believe there will be some slowdown in offtake of oil, crude oil from Russia. But that would be more because the price differential that is there has contracted quite a bit. But just as background, we also get a lot as oil equity in previous years. That has not shown up in our trade figures, so people don't know about it. So yes, we might be getting 30-35% now. That could change. We keep changing our partners in this direction. So I won't place too much importance on it. I don't think we will be going down a path of kind of completely stopping the purchase of Russian oil. Nevertheless, if the quantum comes down, then the refineries, which have to reconfigure, except for the two big ones, they have to reconfigure for handling different grades of crude oil, they will have a problem. So you might well find that we will switch back to getting oil from maybe the Gulf or maybe from some of the other countries. We have many partners now for our oil purchase. So this would be only a temporary measure as far as I can see.
Right. Now, coming to how we've handled this tension earlier, even earlier there has been pressure from the United States to reduce purchases from Russia. But could you give us a sense how we've managed these relationships in the past? Is there something in history of India-US, India-Russia diplomatic relations which gives us a cue, an indication of what can be done from previous playbooks?
Well, I guess the two most relevant ones would be the 1971 war, Bangladesh, which led to the freedom of Bangladesh. We had a short-term tilt towards the Soviet Union then, but we came back and preserved a long-term balance in our relationship. But I think more relevant would be the 1998 sanctions. If you recall, we came under sanctions from, and these were comprehensive sanctions under the Glenn Amendment, from USA and then also other countries, Japan, Canada, etc. And but we asserted our sovereignty by those tests and we kept the dialogue open. I think we showed that defiance on the one hand and diplomacy on the other can work simultaneously. And I think a bit of that will be in evidence here also, irrespective of the outcome of the Alaska meeting. If it goes very well, then much of the sanctions will be removed and then we need not worry about anything at all. But even if it doesn't, I think we can take the benefit of understanding how we handled the sanctions in 1998 and draw lessons from that and put it to work up here. Right now, we are on a bit of a tightrope on energy and defense, but we are looking at what we call strategic autonomy or with a lot of economic pragmatism, I would say, thrown in. And that remains central to our foreign policy approach at the moment.
Right. Prime Minister Modi has spoken to President Putin on Friday, reaffirming the India-Russia strategic partnership. And he spoke about the war in Ukraine. Today, he has spoken to President Zelensky. And President Zelensky conveyed that no solution regarding war can be arrived at without the participation of Ukraine. Do you feel that now more than ever, India would be trying to play a bigger role in bringing the war to an end?
Well, if we are invited, we would certainly like to and be helpful in finding a solution. And Indian diplomacy has good, solid traditions in helping bring together two sides on this sort of issue. But at the moment, I think the discussion is between USA and Russia. And let's see what they sort out in the first instance and where we end up. And only then would we know what lies ahead. So yes, we have a role to play, but so are others. So do others. And I think if we look at different interlocutors who are there and available, India is one of them. We are an important country. We have friendship with, certainly with Russia, and to a lesser extent with Ukraine. And there are reasons for that, historical concerns. But yes, we could play a role if requested by anyone to do so. But at the moment, it's a bilateral thing that's going on. Russia sees that it needs to negotiate with the USA because USA is kind of backstopping the war that is going on in Ukraine. And Zelensky, as far as Putin is concerned, is neither here nor there.
Right.
Because his term is finished. And but if they agree on having him as a third party, well, so be it. We have no issue with that.
Right.
So that's where we are at the moment.
Okay. And, Master Malhotra, give us a sense of how the approach of different Republican and Democrat administrations in the US has been, their approach has been towards India. You referred earlier how Republicans have always used tariffs as a negotiation strategy. So in a way, what Trump is doing is not very different from the past. But looking at what's been happening over the last 25 years, are we now also heading into a difficult and complicated phase in India-US ties, even if we get a reprieve on the penalty? There is still the 25% reciprocal tariffs, and we don't have a deal yet.
Well, that's a very perceptive question, let me say. First of all, when you have a Democrat administration, you find that the focus is on trade union and labor rights. The issues that they raise are child labor, bonded labor, under Clinton, etc. But when the Republicans come in, you find that they shift to trying to pry open foreign markets by using tariffs as a weapon. And this is not new. This under George W. Bush also, that administration was doing the same thing. Trump, in his first tenure, also did the same. You may recall that he came in 2017, and in March 2018, we had tariffs on our steel and aluminum industry, and that had a major impact. Then in 2019, in June 2019, we had GSP removed that affected us close to $5.8 billion. And we responded in duties on US items, 20% tariff we put on apples and walnuts and, chickpeas and such items. So there's that tradition. Only thing is, earlier it used to be, kind of behind closed doors, not so much in the public eye, one can say. But now it is not so. So quiet diplomacy and confidential negotiations found solutions then. But Trump has his own personal style. He uses Truth Social, and we have to accept and live with that, and have our response also take that into account. So I do believe it will soften. I don't think it will end up at 50. That makes no sense, or even 25. I think the expectation was 20 or somewhere near that. Let's see where we end up. But these negotiations, I think, will restart once we see what happens in Alaska. If you recall, Trump himself, when asked by a media personality as to what lies ahead, said, I'm not implementing this 25 plus 25 immediately. It is from August 21 onwards. So he's giving time for solutions to be found. August 15, we'll know what happens if Russia and USA reach even a modicum of an understanding. Then we know that things can be sorted out. And either way, we have to continue to deal with America. It is the preeminent power in the world, and our relations with it will continue. I mean, I don't see this bit of tightrope walking that we are doing at the moment will move us in a particular direction away from our friendship with USA. I think there's like the stock market, things go up and down, but there's a trend, and the trend is a positive and a continuing one. So I would say that overall our trajectory remains intact, and there might be fluid elements that we are confronting at the moment, but what lies ahead, I think, will be rather positive, and this will then become a kind of hiccup on the path of our relations, which we will then analyze 25 years from now.
Okay, that's a good analogy to end on. Look at what's happening in the stock markets. Look at the overall goal, the long-term goal, rather than short-term temporary disruptions. Thank you very much, Ambassador Malhotra, for joining us on the program Global Lens with your perspective.
Thank you, Parikshit.
Let's move now. A quick look at other headlines.